So we finally have that reveal trailer for the Switch 2, and it's about what we expected. We're going to take a look at it in a little more detail and maybe pick up on some things you might have missed. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So first of all, I apologize if this sounds a little echoey. I'm not recording in my normal location because I wanted to go ahead and get this out pretty quickly. So Nintendo just sort of casually drops this morning, just a little bit after 8 a.m. this morning. And it is pretty much all just a reveal. We start off kind of showing the current Switch sort of morphing into the Switch 2. And the first thing that we notice here is that that leak from Next Handheld does seem to match up. You've got indentations here on the side of the Switch 2 for those Joy-Cons to go in. Then we see the bottom of the unit where that USB-C port is, where it'll be able to dock, as well as these little holes off to the side, which is probably how it'll align with the dock and also prevent this unit from going into the current dock. Then we go across the top of the unit, we have the power and volume buttons, and next I think this is basically going to be the sensor to adjust the brightness of the screen based on the ambient light of the area you're in. Then we see some vents going across here, and then they reveal a top USB-C port, which is what we expected. And then next to that, we of course have the headphone jack and then the game cartridge slot. Next, we skip to the back of the unit, and they sort of show the kickstand sort of carving out here. Now, I think if you look real closely on the right-hand side of the back of the unit, I think that's probably where the micro SD card slot is. I don't know that for certain, but it definitely looks like that's where that could fit. Now, as the system sort of jumps away here, you can see the speakers on the bottom. And then next, they move over to the Joy-Cons and how these have changed. Now what I find interesting here, they kind of show you the contrast of how the new Joy-Cons will be much bigger. But one thing I am noticing here, we don't see a C on that bottom button on the right Joy-Con like we've been seeing all those CAD diagrams. And they don't reveal any function of what that button does yet, so they definitely want to leave a mystery here and reveal this functionality later. And then they move on to show you the color accents. They've got the coloring below the joystick as well as on the side of the Joy-Cons. And then we get to see that SL and SR button, probably what's going to be the sync button. You've got the port here in the center where the Joy-Cons will connect to the system, but interestingly, we didn't see any pins on that main system just yet. And then on the left-hand side, we've got what we think is basically that optical sensor that's supposed to be sort of like a mouse functionality, but they don't reveal any of that here. In fact, they kind of carefully hide that with the angle here so you can't see what's in that hole. And then of course the top of that edge on the inside, you've got those light indicators indicating which Joy-Con you are, whether you're first player or up to fourth player. And then as the units flip around, you can see the top two shoulder buttons, as well as you can see what I'm calling that eject button, or probably the disconnect button. And then an interesting note here, they show the Joy-Cons kind of gliding across the table here, but they don't really tell you that that's a mouse functionality. You could just be thinking, well, this is just sort of some animation they use to kind of show the Joy-Cons off going over to the unit. But I think that's going to be a hint as to that functionality of the system. And then next we've got the Joy-Cons connecting to the system, and here you now do see the pins there on the side of the main unit and how those are going to go into the Joy-Cons. And then they show the Joy-Cons detach and then come back together, but they don't really show how that eject button on the back will work. But at this point you at least know the Joy-Cons will basically connect to the side and you're not going to have those rails like you do on the current Switch. And then of course we finally get the official logo reveal, and this is pretty much what we've been seeing floating out there already. And then we finally get to see the full back of the unit with that Switch 2 logo on it. And then as the system flips around, we get a look at probably what's the new Mario Kart game. You can see Mario Bros. Circuit there at the top, and this isn't any level that I'm familiar with, so I'm thinking this is going to be in the new Mario Kart game. And considering the success of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I'm not surprised they choose to show off Mario Kart here with this new system. And then as that's playing, we see the system go into the dock, so we get a look at the new dock here with of course that Switch 2 logo on the front of it. You've got the power button on the left hand side. Now they just show a single cord going off to the right hand side. I think that's just more of an artistic thing, because normally you would have at least the power and HDMI cable, so I think you're still going to have both of those. I don't think there's anything to that. And then we get a look at the new Joy-Cons snapping into this new holder here, and again it snaps in from the side instead of coming up and down like those rail systems do on the current Switch. And then of course in the background we have another look at that new Mario Kart game, and this kind of reminds me of Radiator Springs from the Pixar movie Cars. And then we have a 2025 date here, but there's a little more information on that release just yet. And here they reveal what we've already known, which is the Switch 2 will play exclusive games as well as games that were for the Nintendo Switch. And then the caveat here, it says Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. Details will be shared on the Nintendo website at a later date. Now I'm thinking that might be stuff like Labo. You're not going to be able to put this new unit in a Labo because it's not going to physically fit. So anything that's going to require like an accessory, that's just not going to work with the new system. And then in here they say there's going to be a Nintendo Direct for the Switch 2 on April 2nd, 2025. So the system's not releasing on April 2nd, it's just going to have a Nintendo Direct based on that. And then finally they said they're going to have a series of hands-on events held around the world, and we'll have more details about that later. So definitely a lot of interesting stuff here from the trailer. We don't necessarily see some of the new functionality like that mouse functionality, although I think they sort of hint to that the way the Joy-Cons glided across the table. We do get a look at a new Mario Kart game, although we don't have a name for it just yet. And we don't get a price or a release date. And since this Nintendo Direct is supposed to be on April 2nd, I am leaning more towards that June release date. And I don't think we're going to have any type of pre-order information until April, but probably shortly after that Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, we'll probably see pre-order information, if not go up for pre-order that day. But let me know what you think about the new system. It seems like they really didn't reveal much here more than what we pretty much already knew. It almost feels to me like Nintendo kind of put this together in order to try to, I guess, get out ahead of the leaks or basically come in just quickly after them. So I'm definitely excited for this new system. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this a system you're going to pick up on day one? Or do you still need to kind of wait to see what that pre-order information is about the cost and maybe what games might be available at launch? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. It really does help out a lot. I'm pretty close to getting to 1,000 subscribers. At that point, I can get into the next tier of YouTube's partnership. So if you could help out with that, I'd really appreciate it. I want to thank you for watching and be good.